Attention on deck. You're about to take command. Welcome to the bunker.
Welcome everybody back to the bunker. Yes, I'm your host Andy Burrows, and as you can see or hear, I'm joined by my illustrious co-host. In my top left, I have my good friend Scouse, Mr. Lockhart. How are you, Scouse?
Yeah, I'm good, pal. I'm very good after today. How are you doing, man?
Yes, well, we are recording this on a Sunday, not our usual Monday slot. We just had the bright idea of finally, right, we're all available, so let's do it. I'm very good, mate. Great win today, which we're going to get into. Down on my bottom left, you can see the tight bastard still. He's logged in on my Zoom. That's why it says Andy Burrows, but his real name is actually Jesse Martin. Jesse, how are you, brother?
Yeah, I was just trying to see if anybody could tell the difference, since I've been hosting the past couple.
Wow.
I'm just messing with
that knife right there, bro. That knife.
I was there last week. And joining us down on my bottom right is from the Command This podcast, good friend of ours and one of the best chefs at a tailgate I've ever seen in my entire life, Mr. Steve Lim. Steve, how are you, my friend?
What's up, boys? Hey, 10 o'clock over in the UK. Glad you guys could have an early one, at least today from a usually you're much later than this. So glad to see you all and got the W for you guys this weekend. So that's good.
Yeah, let's get into it, boys. Washington 42, the Tennessee Titans 19, back to winning ways. Steve, was this the reset that we needed after the past 3 weeks and the perfect way to go into the bye?
Oh, 100% the reset we need. After last week when, I was on Jesse's show with John and Scouse and they were asking if this was a trap game. And I was like, no, the Cowboys game isn't a trap game. We're going to blow them out. And Jesse was like, be careful. This is exactly what we needed. The momentum we need to go into the bye, get their bodies healthy. Everyone's going to be happy. This is exactly what you need. You couldn't have picked a better way to go into the bye week than what we saw today versus the Titans.
Steve, did you think it was one of the fastest starts to a game that you've seen in a while? Oh, I couldn't believe my eyes.
Yeah, the defense has been pretty stagnant. Ever since Jaden got that rib injury, the defense has just been stagnant. And I think that was the Panthers game. And then it was just nice to see them coming out firing on all cylinders and just executing, executing. So, yes, fast start. Loved it.
Definitely. Jesse, was it the same for you? Because I can't like the offense. Was it kind of them coming out and proving a point today?
Sure.
Where, we watched the last 3 weeks. It hasn't been great. It hasn't been disastrous. Like the end of the Cowboys game, the end of it, et cetera, et cetera. It hasn't been horrendously bad. We're not like we're sitting here like a couple of years ago when we were like throwing all the toys out the pram. And this time, 2 or 3 years ago, we weren't even talking playoffs. Our season was done. We're doing draft podcasts. That's how bad it was. So let's look on the positive. But really impressed with the way the offense started the game today.
Yeah, absolutely. Two things: health and execution. You can see our offensive line has been banged up, along with Jaden, along with Brian Robinson. And this offense goes through the running game. And if we can't get a running game going, then this offense just doesn't work. And you saw the offensive line actually execute, open up the holes. B-Rob looked like the old, B-Rob from, earlier in the season. He ran a career high, a 40-yard touchdown today.
Yeah, 103 yards he had today.
Yeah, so it really pretty much comes down to that, man, is executing. The offensive line the past few weeks, it looked like it was just getting blown up. It looked like they were tired, not executing, going the wrong ways on some stunts, or some pulls. It was great. It was good to see. It was perfect going into the bye week so they can get even more healthy, come back ready for New Orleans.
Scouse, the Titans, supposed one of the best defenses in the NFL, completely blown away in that first half. Was there any concern for you coming into the game, and did the start of the game even surprise you as well?
Oh, 100%. Who expects to get 28 points in the first quarter? These things don't happen, and I think it's the highest.
First time since 2015, I think.
Yeah. So
third year.
Quite a
First
long,
time since '96 that we've won 9 games at this stage of the season. So yeah,
8 games.
8 games. Sorry, yeah, 8 games since
yeah,
since '96.
Getting a little ahead of us, Andy.
Sorry. You know, I'm like, I want to book a flight. God damn it!
It's nice. And I say, yeah, of course. I mean, to be fair, the first shock was seeing B-Rob actually go 40 yards without being caught. Because he's not caught, and he's always run down by somebody. So that was quite nice to see. He did look sharp, razor sharp at the start. Obviously, we didn't really need him that much in the second half, and that's why C-Rod got a lot more carries in the second half. But yeah, man, I mean, at the start, the question there, was I worried before the game? A little. Because their defense is pretty solid, and our offense hasn't been on fire for probably about 5-6 weeks now, being honest. So of course you think, well, this is going to be a tight game, but we just came out blazing hot and just destroyed them, and then the game was virtually over from the start of second quarter.
Steve, Jaden Daniels, probably the first game that he actually looked completely injury free. I mean, I think he's been carrying the rib injury for a little bit. Like Jesse says, now the bye's probably come. We're all talking about it's a late bye, but it's probably come now at the perfect time for this team. I think it looked for me like it's the first time that he played completely injury free. I was a little bit worried when he started holding his ankle at one point. But for you, what did you like from what you've seen from Jaden? Just his development just keeps getting better and better as the weeks go on.
Yeah, this is the Jaden we saw in the first quarter of the season. The last 3 games, actually not even the last game at the Cowboys game. He looked pretty spry and healthy at the Cowboys game, but the 3 previous games before that, Armstrong just didn't look like it was there. He was missing some balls, sailing some balls, throwing some balls in the dirt. And his running acumen still just wasn't there. But today, like you said, no question whatsoever. He was decisive with the ball. He only had 34 yards rushing, but he tended to make the right calls when he needed to. 25 of 30. I mean, he was dead on accurate. And
206 yards.
That's right.
For the one floater, instead for the one floater.
And I like a game where he doesn't have to throw more than, I think like 27 is just a good number for me. 30 is okay. But if you're throwing more than 27, 30 times, I think something's wrong. I think his soft spot is right in that little the window right there. And that means there's balance in the run game too.
Steve, where do you think his game's improved from week 1 to where we are now? Because obviously coming into the NFL as a rookie, from what we saw when we were there week 2, what's impressed you most about his game as we head into the bye week?
Yeah, I think his first and foremost, his ability to run is really a game changer because teams have to account for him. But he's always had that. That really hasn't gotten improved because it's been great since the season started. I think what he's getting better at is staying in the pocket for even a half a second longer. I think it's a little bit better because really he was a one read guy to start. In my opinion. And I think he's a 1-2 read guy. And sometimes I think he's 1-2-3. So I think he's getting better in that respect. But the offensive line didn't do him any help, the last 4 games. So, but I think he's getting better going through his progressions. But first and foremost, I'm happy to see Terry be the number 1 target again and not Noah Brown. Thank goodness. That's what I like.
And they moved him to the other side, Scouts. Just
like and in the slot
2 or 3 times.
Yeah,
he moved. I don't think it was that big of a, not nearly as big a deal as people are making it out to be.
Yeah. Well,
Scouts, I'll let you have that one, bro.
Last week compared to this week, that's the proof right there. You move him around, he gets his targets, he produces and gets his touchdowns.
He was on the other side like twice, man. It's not that big of a deal. Y'all need to go listen to Time and Logan Paulson, people that know.
Stayed on the left-hand side all last week and didn't do
Jesse,
anything.
Are you saying we don't know what we're talking about?
No, we're very stupid. We don't know what we're talking about.
That touchdown from he thought that touchdown from the slot, which was pretty cool. I don't see Terry much in the slot.
Not his first time this year.
No.
Jesse's just a hater on Terry. That's all it is.
Not a hater. Terry's the number 1 receiver. He's just not a top 5 receiver like everybody in this fan base believes.
Who says he's a top 5?
Steve, just really quick. Steve, you listen to our show. Where are you on the elite Terry thing? Just
he's more than Jesse.
No, I think before the season started, he was about 15. You could argue 15-ish.
I would say 25.
Even 15 to 20 even. I think right now he might have crept up to right around the top 10, maybe right outside or inside the top 10. I think he's hovering right around there, but I have to go look at all the numbers again. Not top 5 for sure. 100% not top 5. No way.
We'll leave it there. We won't get into it again. Jesse, let's talk some defense. Frankie Louvu, Quan Martin, Bobby Wagner. I thought that so good today. You know, apart from the start of the second half where, you know, I was thinking, oh no, please, not even we can blow this. Thankfully we didn't. Really impressed with Luvu. I think he is one player. If you had to give like we have an award over here called like most improved player. I think as the weeks go on, and every time I see Frankie Luvu, I think, wow, thank God he's on our team. What a player we've got on our hands, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's already surpassed his career high in sacks, and there's still, 4 more games to go. He was, I think, the number one signing in the offseason. And we have him I'd say go ahead and extend his ass now. Let's keep him for the rest of his career because he's been great on the defense. And I mean, Wagner is getting older, but he's still a good player as well. Them two next to each other, I think, has done wonders. From where this defense was in the beginning of the season to where it is now, I think it's night and day. And if when Lattimore comes in, add that piece, to the defensive backfield, I think we got a chance to really start shutting some teams down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just what, Scouse, Steve, let's get your opinions. I know pretty much what Scouse is going to say. Please, can we find a kicker? What's happened? What's going on here?
Scouse, all I want for Christmas is a kicker.
All I want for Christmas is
a good kicker. A good
kicker. Scouse, it's kind of your pet peeve, bro. I know every week we talk about it. It seems we have since the start of the season. We were fine.
I know. A lot of a lot of fans will say, "Oh, it's only a kicker. Anyone can kick," and that's why you get some guys off the couch. You can just have a go, and it's okay. But it's not okay. It's a very important position. They put points actually on the board. If you miss a lot, your team suffers unless you're like.
Well, if we make a kick at the end of last week's game, we could potentially be sitting here winning 9 games of football.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, we're not at that one. I know today we blew out a team, which is quite rare, but we need our kickers to be making 9 out of 10. Let's face it. I mean, we can't afford too many kicks missed. We're just not one of them teams that are like massively high-powered offense. I say, I know today different, but most of the time we're not.
No, you're right.
And that's the thing. We need a solid kicker, and we can't get one no matter what happens. It's like we get one, we think, oh, we've nailed it now with Siebert, and then it's like, no, he fucks up, and then now he's on IR for the rest of the season, and we get Gonzalez in. It's always like a fucking. I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, like
it's always something.
There's always something going on. It's like is there somebody actually put bad juju on some kickers or something? I don't know, man.
Well, since we've now got a quarterback, they're like, hang on, we need to fuck Washington somehow. We can't have them going through a whole season without having something to promote about.
McManus thing. I mean, McManus is 10 from 11 since he's back in there.
That was Scouse is 100% right. I mean, most NFL games, they're
just going to clip that.
Never agrees.
100% right. No,
the winning margin is between like 1 and 4 points. That is a field goal and a missed extra point away from, and it seems like, we have that all the time. So if you can get a solid kicker, that will win you football games, or if you don't have a solid kicker, that will lose you football games.
Yeah. Steve, are you as high on this thing with the kickers as a lot of the fans are right now?
Scouse nailed it, man. The margin of error is razor thin, and Siebert, whatever name you want to call him, he was great till he got injured, and then Gonzalez was also great for his one game he played with us, and I think the announcer said he had made his last 22 straight or something like that. Yeah. And then of course he blows 2 today. So it's like, just when you think you got to, but at this point you don't have a choice. You're stuck with Gonzalez for the rest of the year till
should have never got rid of Sly. Never got rid of Sly.
I was on the get rid of Sly train, and now I'm thinking,
y'all are nuts.
The man was consistent. He just
missed,
he just had a problem with the long ones. But you know what, kicker doesn't. I would have been. Yeah,
but he could hit the long ones too. These two guys
get points. That was his problem.
Can't even kick it to the end zone barely.
Yeah. But yeah, got to find a kicker. It'd be nice to have a kicker to go out and just be automatic from, like 45 in, 45.
Can we just ring up Dallas and get Aubrey? I know we missed 2 against us, but I mean, normally this guy's automatic. So this is,
when we said this in our post game matchup as well, kickers this year, they're down all across the league. I mean, look at Justin Tuck or Tucker. He's already missed a field goal today. So he's missed 4 from outside of 50 when he's usually nails. And I saw 3 different, big time NFL reporters tweet out today what is going on with the kicking situation this year. because it's bad. You're league wide.
No, you're definitely right, boys. Just before we get into some fan questions, I appreciate everyone that's got in touch. I know we give them a bit of short notice as we're recording on a Sunday. Steve, we have the bye week now. Then I think it's Saints, Phillies, Falcons, Cowboys. Out of the remaining 4 games, how do you think we do?
Hold on. Let me look at those again. So we said Saints, Eagles,
Falcons, Cowboys.
Falcons, Cowboys. Okay. You know, if we keep playing like we did today, we should go 3-1, and then we should have 11 wins.
Right.
We should finish 11-6. We should finish 11-6. If we don't finish 11-6, then I mean, hey, even
we
10
might not
still
make
happy.
the playoffs.
We might not make the playoffs. We're still playing with house money, right? We were never supposed to be this good. But I think it would be a letdown if we don't finish with 11 wins. Personally, we should be able to run the Saints, the Falcons, and the Cowboys, and then the Eagles. You can chalk that up as a loss, even though we could beat them. But they're just a great team. So
yeah, they. I mean, Jesse, how important is it that we go into after the bye, we go into the Saints game with the same mentality and the same quick tempo game that we showed today? The Saints defensively, they're okay. They're no world beaters. How important is it for you now that we get, a little break, but then we come back and we really dial in now? Because there is, like Steve says, we are playing with house money. There is potential here, though, to genuinely make the playoffs. We've already said this discussion today. I generally think we will make it. I'm with Steve. I said we'd go 3-1. If we get anything out of the Eagles, it's a bonus, I think, because they are a really good football team. But we went there a couple of years back when they hadn't lost a game and we completely smoked them. We went there in 2020 and we done exactly the same thing. So it can be done. How important is it for you now, Jesse, that this momentum is upheld with this Washington Commanders team? It's kind of not a benchmark game today because it was a Tennessee Titans, but we have to keep on doing what we done today.
I mean, coming into this New Orleans game, it's must win. If you want to keep your playoff hopes alive, it's must win, because then you got the Eagles next. It is the Eagles next, right?
So and Saints, Eagles, Falcons, Cowboys,
and then the Falcons are at home, and then because we got the Eagles, Falcons, or no, yeah,
we've got 2 home games left.
Then we finish up, and you never know what's going to happen in Dallas. I mean, nobody thought that we were going to lose that game last week.
It could come down to the Falcons game. They're a place behind us.
It could. It very well could. I mean, they could be coming in here and fighting for a playoff spot as well. I mean, they did lose today, so that helps a little bit, I think. But they're still in first place, and will be after, even if Tampa Bay beats Carolina because of tiebreakers. So they're fighting for their playoffs lives, because you have 3 teams in the NFC North that are making the playoffs, and the Lions, Vikings, and Packers. They all have to play each other, but they're still making it. So that only leaves 1 spot available.
Scouse, kind of the same question as last week. As the weeks go on, this question is going to keep getting more and more important. It is house money this season. Is it now going to be somewhat disappointing if we don't play meaningful playoff football in January from the position we've kind of put ourselves in? I'm with Steve, like what he just said. Look, no one expected. I had us down winning 4 games. I've had more humble pie in the last 2 months than anyone. And but I even said that when I made my prediction. I was like, I'll gladly be wrong. Like we all would. We're all big Commanders fans. From the position we put ourselves in, just as a sports fan, you're like, yeah, next season's going to be great, and the season's not. But we're here. We're in the here and now. Is it going to be somewhat of a, oh fuck, we did okay, but we didn't make it? You know what I'm trying to get at?
Yeah, I know what you're trying to say, because people will still say we'll try and chalk it down to, well, it's if you miss out, it's it's a first year, and blah 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 blah. But the thing is, when you've played as well as we have over most of these games, and you're not making the playoffs, then that means you've shit the bed at the end of the season. That's what's happened, and. Then for me, it's not a good season, because you've blown it. Basically, you've been there, you had the chance, and then you mess it up, and not just like a one-off game. This is like 4, 5, 6 games you're going to have to mess up to kind of miss out on the playoffs. So you're as good as your record normally is. Do you know what I mean? I'd be upset if you didn't make it. Put that way.
Would it go down as a bad season if we didn't make it?
I'm going to say yes.
7-2 would be, I think.
Yeah, because you start off 7-2.
Steve,
you need to be making the playoffs.
Yeah,
You need to
so
be making the playoffs.
it's great that we are where we are now, but I'm gonna say that this season was just about finding out about Jaden. So to me, objective met. I think we're good. And
Jesse, I remember you saying about maybe at the start of the season, you were like, let's find our quarterback, let's
Well,
make it all.
sure.
Is that
we're
what?
8-5 now. We're
Is
getting
that
the
how?
playoff
Is that how the
itch.
season's gone though? That's even
But,
your opinion. Your opinion's now flipped. You're like, okay, well, I think we kind of know about Jaden. His development's only going to
Sure,
go
yeah.
one way.
That's what I mean. Like if you start off the season at 7-2, and then the second half of the season you totally fall apart, and let's be honest, the second half of the season, the schedule it didn't get much harder, and you fall apart. Yeah, that's disappointing. That's going to be disappointing. I think all that. Well, we weren't supposed to be here. Flew out the window when we were 6-2. Then you come to 7-2. Like, hold on a second. We got a team here. They go make a move. If we're say five, let's see, 2-7 or 3-6, they don't make that trade for Lattimore.
Yeah.
So they're expecting to make a run in the playoffs as well. They would have gone in the offseason. They're not giving that up mid-season, giving up that much for someone that's not going that they don't think is going to help them for a playoff run.
That's the thing. Lattimore's going to be playing against the Saints.
Yeah.
I think the buy is perfect time because you've say Lattimore's going to be ready for that game and 100%. I mean, I called it a few weeks back though for this original hamstring. If it wasn't a fake injury, like I think Devontae Adams did something like a hamstring, and the next week he was playing when he got traded. Yeah, but besides, if it wasn't one of those with Lattimore's hamstring, then he wouldn't be ready until the Saints game, and which he obviously had a natural hamstring injury, and that's why he's going to be ready then. But it's perfect time, and also as well that he's going to be coming in and giving the defense a big boost.
Yeah,
going into those final games, and the bye week's perfect timing. As in
the Eagles just
now we've got the week to actually fully, a couple of weeks off, to actually fully refocus and actually go for that playoffs now and go. We've got this main stretch now where if you got a late bye in your, what score? Let's see, we'll flip it around the other way for 5-8. Nothing to really play for. Well, then the late bye is not a nightmare. It's a waste of time because you're not really going to utilize it properly. We're going for the playoffs. We're heading for that area. Yeah. So for us, even though it's a late bye, I think it's a perfect time for us.
Really and I don't think anybody in that building, including secretaries, thought that we were going to lose that Dallas game.
Yeah. It makes it even more painful that we lost that game now. That the fact that we got that win last week.
We should be sitting at 9-4 right now instead of set ourselves up pretty.
You could have finished with 12-5 if all things went crazy. That's wild to think that we could have been 12-5.
Yeah.
It is. Boys, let's get into some fan questions. Some fan questions have come in while we've been just before we started recording. Steve, Jan would like to know, what are we going to do about these mounting injuries and banged up guys? How can we fix this secondary, and how do we find a kicker?
Well, the problem, the thing with the injuries, today's injury report, we were relatively healthy. If you think about it. Yeah, you got Eckler on the IR. You got Seibert on the IR. But for the most part, we're relatively healthy. The problem is guys get injured during the games, but then they come back the next week. I thought B-Rob was not going to be good today. The man looked great.
He looked prime time, B-Rob.
I left him on the bench in my fantasy thinking he was going to do well.
Mistake.
The guy who got hobbled last week and came back, he looked like he was uninjured today. So I think we're okay on the injury front. From the kicker perspective,
we're banged up. We're banged up for sure.
But it's late on in the season. We're in the stretch now. Every NFL team's going to be banged up.
But like said,
the thing about it is we just don't have good depth at all.
Right.
I think that's going to be when we're sitting here on the 1st of December 2025. Our depth then is going to be a million times better than what it is now.
Yeah,
100%. Peters knows what he's about to do. He knows what's coming in the draft. And we've got free agents, etc., etc., etc. This time next year, this team is going to be even better than we are now. And we're sitting here now hoping that we're going to make the playoffs. Next season, I think the expectations when we do when we're sitting down in June, July, August, we're like, how many wins do you think we're going to get this year, Steve? Oh, we're going to win 13 games. It's going to be one of them crazy, just because of where the expectation has purely taken us this season. I think it's heightened everything. We're, like Jesse said a couple of weeks ago, we're probably a season or 2 seasons ahead of where we probably should be with this new regime and new everything that we've got in the building. We are playing with house money. Jesse, this one's for you. Your Lex Luthor, who was on with us last week, Scotty G. Will Jesse admit he was wrong in saying that Cliff had no blame for the last 3 weeks?
Absolutely not.
Even Cliff seems to disagree as he made play call adjustments today with how they utilized Terry in alignments.
moving
Look at
Terry
Scouse loving that
open
question, by the way.
a couple times bared no nothing on the game whatsoever. And it didn't really matter last week either because how the game was going. I mean, I'm sitting there in the stands watching. Terry wasn't getting up. It wouldn't matter if they would. I mean, excuse me. Terry was getting open at times, but Jaden wasn't even looking his way. If Jaden's not looking his way, it doesn't matter where Terry's lined up on the field. And absolutely not. I'm not putting any blame. I'm putting 100% blame because you saw it today when the players execute, when Brian Robin is healthy, when the offensive line blocks and gets holes, and we run the ball. And we're able to run the ball. We weren't able to run the ball last week. We didn't have Brian Robinson. We didn't have a thumper. And this offense goes through the run game. And that involves not only Jaden using his wheels, but it also involves the offensive line opening up holes. Then it also have Brian Robinson actually being healthy enough to hit those holes, which you saw clearly today.
Scouse, you're dying to say something.
No, I mean, I think this week, the difference between last week and this week, obviously besides Parsons, who's a game wrecker, but besides that, I think from the play calling side of things, you can see that from this game that Jaden was a lot more, you can see like he wasn't playing within himself. He was playing more freely. And I think that he wasn't doing that while he was hurt. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know if that's because he was hurt and he wasn't, or was it an element of a potential, some of it of play calling of no, Jaden,
the offensive line was bad last week.
You don't take tackle, you don't take shit, you don't get hit, you don't get hit anymore. You are battered up. You know what I mean? And then today he's felt 100% healthy, and you've seen how well he ran and how he got out of the way of certain tackles, and just even for losses, but at least there wasn't sacks. And it's just those things. I think it might be an element of both personally, but I do think it's more execution, like you said, but I do think there is an element of play calling for sure.
And I agree. So the last 3 weeks, we're watching the film, the all 22, we had some really, really long developing routes. Today was quick game. We haven't had quick game since 4 games ago. So that stood out to me today. We had a great quick game. Guys weren't running, super, super long 15, 20-yard routes all day today. It just seemed like it was much quicker today.
Steve, how much did you put it down? We got into it. I was on with Scouse last week and Scotty G, and I wasn't around the week before. I listened obviously to Jesse and Scouse talking. How much do you put it down to where we are with the players the past 3 weeks? Is it what me and Scouse have kind of said like we mentioned on the last week's show? Yeah, I think Cliff has made mistakes. And I think he, like any sport, no matter what you are, whether you're football, soccer, tennis, any baseball, whatever you are, the coaches will always evaluate and go, actually, yeah, maybe we can do this. And it might have only been Terry on the other side of the field for a couple of plays, but it clearly worked because look at the game he had today. So that's what to Scouse's point earlier. Yeah. Or are you in the Jesse camp of the players just they haven't executed, the scheme has been good, but the players just haven't been able to execute? What camp have you been in?
Yeah, if you're asking me to pick a side, it's definitely the players aren't executing slide, because even in the times we're doing bad, you could see the opportunities that were there.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
He would miss a block. Normally they do the counter tray where the guards pull across. Last couple weeks, these guys were stumbling. These guys were just whiffing. The tight ends, who are always great blockers, they were missing blocks last week. So the opportunities were there. I'm going to fall in the execution side, but Cliff is not scot-free, but definitely put me on the players' lack of execution side, which is 100%.
Look, people tend to blame Cliff if Noah Brown misses.
I don't think they said blame. They just wanted him to take accountability. I think it's what I mean, like what Scouts was saying.
It's the thing is we're not having this conversation whatsoever.
We fucking are. It's my goddamn show.
If Jaden would throw, Jade would throw on target, or if Noah Brown could catch, or if any of the receivers catch, because they've all had drops.
I get that.
Or if the offensive line would hold their blocks or make their blocks or not whiff, and just like Steve said, this wouldn't be a conversation whatsoever.
But then they clearly,
That's where I'm getting at.
But they've clearly listened to what's been said, not just on. I'm not saying anyone
You think
listens
they're
to the
really going on Twitter and listening.
No,
to
but
this?
they've clearly, like to Scouse's point that he made, I think on our group chat in the week and today when he made it correct, he was like they've clearly listened because they're not just going to go, oh, well, we'll just put Terry on the other side of the field. If they haven't listened or they haven't Scouse, you know what I'm trying to say? If they haven't heard anything,
I doubt they listen to us, but
no, yeah, they're not listening. They're definitely
not.
not listening to me and you. They're probably saying, "Who's them crazy fucking English guys?"
Do you remember? I think it was Scott Jennings asked Cliff Kingsbury at the midweek press conference, "Hey, Cliff, what do you feel about your second half offenses tending to flounder throughout the years, and you do this?" And he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." I'd have to go look at that because they were literally trying to call him out on it.
I literally think some people should, because there's been studies on this that multiple people's done, and it's actually not true. I mean, if you actually go back, there's reasons why, whether it's defense, even going back to college, I mean, he was still putting up 40 to 50 points per game, but his defense was so bad that it didn't matter. It didn't matter. So
Jesse, out of the I can't see my phone on the screen. Out of the 2,746 people that listened on audio last week, you're saying Cliff Kingsbury wasn't one of them?
No, not at all.
I think the team.
He might be better off if he does.
I think the team of normal people like us probably listen to our shows.
But you know what I mean, though, Scouts. Like they must. There's no. Don't get me wrong.
Come on.
No, I'm not saying. No, I'm not
Maybe
saying they
do.
listen.
Oh,
I'm not saying they listen to podcasts, but they must in any. I listened to an interview. I think someone. No, they're not. I'm not. Let me make my goddamn point. I will mute your ass. I think they hear outside noise that doesn't necessarily affect their decisions that they made, but I find it it's not a coincidence that half the media world in DC, and I listen to JP and Mitch and all them guys. I'm lucky I get the whole show now on audio, so I listen to it every evening. They were talking about, hey, let's see Terry on the other side of the field. Scott Jackson mentioned it on one of his phone-ins that he done in last week. There was callers phoning in saying, hey, I want to see Terry maybe lined. People mentioned the slot as well. Two guys called in and were like, and I'm not saying he listened to it, but they were like, love to see Terry lined up in the slot. So when Steve's making that point earlier, I'm not saying they're sitting there going, right, let's just do everything that a fan says. But outside noise in any sport does affect your psyche and your thinking. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying they're sitting there going, right, let's listen to that crazy Englishman on the bunker talk a complete load of BS every week and his friend from Liverpool. All I'm saying is it's no coincidence that there were adjustments made today. That's what I'm saying.
I would hire a guy to do that for me. I need someone to stop me from being me, because humans by nature we
Steve, you've got Dev for that.
Stubborn, man. Stubborn sometimes.
You've got Dev.
Yeah, I'm gonna hire a lackey, an analytical guy. Hey, tell me what I'm doing.
I've got some guys like that.
He breaks some tendencies.
That's what I'm trying to say.
This way, if they're listening to the radio, to local radio, they're in the wrong fucking profession.
No, but I'm not saying that. I'm not saying they're taking their ideas from it. I'm just saying, there's got to be something in it that Terry all of a sudden today, to Scouse's point at the start of the show,
but we're
on the other side
like
of the
it
field.
Was his first time that he's done that.
Yeah,
it's not.
It's been few and far between though.
It was few and far between today. Y'all act like he lined up on the other side.
Scored a touchdown from that side of the field. Just saying. All right, okay, we'll move on. So. Steve, you see what I got up with every week.
Love it.
Every week we do this. Talk amongst yourselves. I'm just trying to find here's the last question that come in. GWR on Twitter, always a good contributor to our podcast. Jesse, once we picked up intensity again this week, we were safe. You guys think that we target O-line again and maybe speed at running back in the draft and free agency?
That's a good question. There's so many different spots that we need some help at. I think maybe you really got to see what's out there on free agency and let the draft come to them, and not really. I think they did a really good job at our last year's draft about letting the draft come to them and not necessarily overreaching on a player of need. Besides, obviously we needed the quarterback, but like they did with Johnny Newton last year. Didn't really necessarily need a defensive tackle, but you went out and got him, and people were up in arms about that pick, that second round pick this year. But yeah, you're going to need to bolster your offensive line. You're going to need to bolster even your defensive back, even with Marshawn Lattimore. I mean, I don't think we can go out with just Mikey on the outside. We need to get, another outside cornerback and move Mikey inside. But yeah, I can see them going maybe 4th, 5th round and getting a running back. Sure.
Steve, what about you?
Listen, if 2 guys are staring you in the face, Ashton Jeanty from Boise State, and there's a running back out of Iowa named Caleb Johnson. Phenomenal. These are like Saquon Barkley type guys. If they're sitting in front of your face, you draft them. Best player available. I think that's how the staff operates. Yes, you probably don't need him, but man, those guys would be game changers. But wide receiver. You got to get another wide receiver besides Terry.
Definitely.
It can't just be Terry. If we had like a Travis Kelce or someone at tight end, sure, but you have no number 2 option. Ertz is okay, but you got to get a second weapon across from Terry. Line's been serviceable. With the scheme we're running, they don't have to do a whole lot. They got to be a little mobile. So I think you can slack on the line a little bit. You got to build it. You got to get someone else. I think Wiley's time is coming to an end here. Get someone to replace him, and I think you're okay. Defensive side.
He had a good start to the season, but
he had a great start. But I think it was the scheme that helped him hide a lot of his deficiencies. And later in the year, we started seeing the last year Andrew Wiley.
Oh, now it's the scheme. Oh,
yeah.
Players can't execute. Now it's the scheme. Okay, Steve. All right, bro.
Lucas played
Wiley can't
very well.
execute.
All right, Steve.
But I mean,
reel back in there, brother.
Schemes can hide. That's what they're supposed to. Your scheme should mask the deficiencies of your offense. And when the scheme doesn't work, sometimes sheer talent has to take over. And just with Wiley, it's not.
Scouts now, it's the scheme.
Yeah.
All right, Steve. Okay.
Wiley was top 5.
I've been trying to tell them that for the past 2 years. Scheme does matter.
Scheme, that should be the name of this podcast. Glenn Blackwell, new listener to the pod. He's been listening the last few weeks. Really appreciate it from
Definitely
over
right
here.
about right receiver, though.
Over here, Glenn. Yeah, 100%. I agree with you, Steve. We do need another wide receiver.
Man.
Glenn says, boys, if we make the playoffs, will you all sing the Left Hand Up song on your podcast?
No.
Glenn, if we make this playoffs, I'll sing whatever you want me to make. But I hate that song. But I'll sing it. Yeah, yes. Jesse hates it. Jesse will no chance. Jesse will sing it unless you give him about 10
I'd
Jaeger
rather
bombs.
do it. Run down my road doing the helicopter butt naked.
Yeah, there's only one small issue with you doing the helicopter.
It's not small.
That's for another podcast. Completely.
4-leaf clover.
I know, right? I'm going to put you boys on the spot now. I don't want none of this percentage malarkey. Steve. Yes or no? Do we make the playoffs?
So, Minnesota and Green Bay. Those are your. I think I'm going to say yes because Minnesota and Green Bay are going to make it, and we will have the last wild card spot. I don't see anyone behind us. Arizona, Tampa, Rams, 49ers are done. I don't see anyone in that 8th spot but us. Yes, we will make the playoffs. Well, we might be one and done.
Hey,
mate, we'll
Scouts, yes or no? Are me, you, and Hartley going to be booking a flight to probably Detroit or Philadelphia? I don't know where we're going to be going. Hartley's adamant. Hartley thinks we're going to Philly. Yes or no? Do we make the playoffs?
I think we do make it.
I'm dreading to ask Jesse. For the love of God, is it a full house? Yes or no? Do we make the playoff? Philadelphia just scored again. Do we make the playoffs?
I'm going to say yes, but I'm not comfortable with that. If we go out and beat New Orleans and we play like we did today, we don't have to beat. The score doesn't have to be as high as it was. But if we go out and show what we did on offense today, then I think we got a good chance.
I think we'll make it. I'm with Steve at the start of the show. I think we go 3-1.
But I do think it's going to be one and done because we're going to be playing Philly, and they're probably going to.
I've always said I'd never go to Philadelphia because I never want to, but I'm going to have to. They just scored in the air. Philly, they've just gone. For those listening, we're recording this on a Sunday.
Arizona losing today helped us. Atlanta helped us.
What's Tampa doing?
Tampa's playing the Cardinals. I don't know the score. I don't have it up right now.
10-10 versus the Panthers.
Okay.
That'd be good if Tampa Bay lose. I mean, one team's got to come out of that division. Whether it's Atlanta or Tampa. But what I think would be really good for us is somehow Green Bay loses like 3 games. the rest of the season. I don't think it's going to happen, but they do have to play, I think, Minnesota again and Detroit. So you never
Who would
know.
be the third seed? Who would be the third seed? The winner of what?
It would be Detroit.
Detroit be first.
Yeah,
Being honest.
Detroit will be first. Philly most likely be second. And then you have either the NFC West winner, because that's up in the air right now. I don't think any team has more than 7 wins
No one wants to win it over there.
Only Seattle. We've had them before. Me in the playoffs.
It would be either, probably. I'm still saying the Rams are going to win that division because that was my pick earlier this year.
Oof.
Or the or Tampa or Atlanta. I mean, those are all going to, even though we'll probably have a better record than them, they're ranked higher because they're a division winner.
I mean, it's like I want to see who we're playing, like who we would play if we finished like not the 7th seed but the 6th seed.
6th seed.
We play third. We play the third.
That would probably be
Seattle.
Do you think it'd be Seattle or
LA?
I think it'd be Seattle. Yeah, I think it'd be Seattle.
It all depends on who ranks higher as far as the NFC West or the NFC South.
Take a trip to LA. Be nice there.
Oh, can you us lot over there?
But yeah, I'd take on any one of those teams rather than Detroit or Philly.
I always said I'd never go to Philadelphia. I went to the Eagles game, but then it's called
I
FedEx.
don't recommend it, especially for a playoff game.
We'll get killed out there. We get killed. I mean,
yeah, it might just be safer to fly to Washington and watch it with our friends, and that might just be a lot safer. Steve, just finishing up though, if this season doesn't fizzle out and we do go 3-1, is this the kind of now benchmark set? Because this team is expected to get a hell of a lot better next season. Like a few of the questions have come in today, and they've said with the draft, etc., and the free agency that we're not fortune tellers, but all being well, this team should get a hell of a lot better as well next season. Is this kind of season set a benchmark now for expectations for fans, for expectations for coaches, for expectations for players? Is this now the kind of quote unquote new era of the Washington Commanders?
Oh, absolutely. Starting, new owners, new GM, new coaches. And I think you're kind of modeling the Houston Texans. If you follow the Houston Texans, that's kind of the model where they bring in a defensive head coach. They have a young dynamic quarterback in CJ Stroud. We have Jaden Daniels. I think that's kind of the model. And I think that it is the benchmark that we will be good from this point moving forward. Growing up as a kid in the 90s and in the 80s, we were always, hey, Skins are going to make the playoffs. We were always in playoff contention. It'd be nice to get back to that point again.
Let's just hope that next year doesn't turn out like the Texans this year, because they have not looked good.
They're 8-5, but they're struggling 8-5. Yeah, struggling 8-5. Yep, for sure.
Yeah. Well, Steve, it's been a pleasure to see you again, my man. Not only are you a great chef, you can hit a golf ball an absolute mile. And I can't believe Dev went to a game without us. Oh, I'm never getting on a plane. I look on Facebook. He's there.
Did he go today?
He went to the Carolina Panthers game, and he's all pissed off because he didn't even get to see Jaden Daniels.
Oh man, that's
karma. Tell Steve that's what you get. That is karma.
That was his karma. I'll let him know that was his karma.
Yeah, tell him from me, man. I have good banter with him on Facebook as well. But Steve, just tell us
any other games? Unless we make the playoffs.
Me and Hartley have already booked off the time in January. With work. So all being well, I'll see you either. I hope I don't see you in Philly, but if I have to, I'll see you in Philly, or it could be a case of let's just come and watch it and hang out with our friends and not get killed.
I'm going to go to probably a watch party somewhere in DC. I'm sure the team will put one on.
I'm thinking maybe if it is Philly, I might say to Hartley, look, let's play it safe and go and watch it with our friends. That could be. That could be
ticket anyway. Made the tickets to be
tickets. I'll probably have to sell to sell a kidney and and God knows what else. But Steve, tell us the Command This for our listeners that want to come and check you out. Where can they find you? What's coming up with the Command This podcast?
Twitter, command_this, or Facebook. Live stream every Monday for a post game and Thursday for pregame. And man, that's where we are. 8:35 p.m. East Coast time. We'll be there talking about whatever. So you can come find us there. Appreciate you guys having me, man. This is always a fun time.
Always good to see you, bro. Always good to see you. We're going to try and maybe, like Jesse said before we hit record, if it is the early game for us here in the UK, we're going to try and put these episodes out on a Sunday. Makes more sense for me and Scouse. And Jesse, Scouse, I will catch you. It's a bye week next week. I'll probably see you.
Week.
I'll see you. And we'll put something out there. I can't go a whole week without
I
us
think
arguing.
I think Steve should change his times to like earlier so I can watch.
Do you know what,
I
Steve?
know, man.
Do you know
it's so
Steve?
late.
But he kills you,
Steve's
man.
biggest.
8:30, man. Like that's 1:30 in the morning, bro.
Do you
Come
know?
on.
Every
Hey,
time
I
I
mean,
go into Steve's live chat, sometimes he's like, "What
Yeah.
the fuck is he doing awake?"
No, soccer, man, travel soccer, football, travel
Yeah.
football over here. It runs our lives on this side of town. So the time is tough.
Yeah, it is good. But Steve, keep up the good work, man. It's great
Yep.
to see you. I love seeing obviously the pictures. I know you've been to a few games again since I've seen you on week 2, man. Honestly, if you are at a game, watching the Commanders at a home game, go and check out Steve's tailgate. Honestly, one of the best tailgates around. You have a great time. They really, really do look after you, Steve. So I know I didn't get to see you loads on week 2 because you were like mega busy.
Yeah.
But Frank, I really do appreciate the way you looked after us, man. It was really good
Yeah,
to
of
see you
course,
again, brother.
of course, man. Always hospitality. You guys are
No
great.
worries. We'll be back probably next week. We'll probably put something out. We can't go a week without arguing with Jesse about Terry McLaurin being elite and us making
Or Wiley.
or Wiley being
I'll bring
absolutely terrible.
I'll bring my list of receivers that I would take over him.
Oh no, he's got a list like Hartley.
You have been hanging around with 10 shits too much, honestly. But ladies and gentlemen, check us out on Twitter at Commander Bunker. You can find us on YouTube, The Bunker Podcast. Just search for it. You'll see there's another show called The Bunker Podcast. I'm not nicking our subscribers, but it's nothing to do with the NFL, nothing to do with football. But you'll see the little Washington logo. Spotify, Apple is where you can find us as well. But ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of The Bunker. I've been your host, Andy Burrows. Till next time, everybody, bunker down. Stay safe.